Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Sweden and we're going to go back to a brewery who you've seen me review a good number of beers from before, and these guys are definitely one of the smaller breweries on the market, but I think they produce some really interesting and quite quirky stuff, so curious to see what this one has in store for us, because this one is one of their kind of older beers if you like. So for this review then we are going to head a little bit north to a little town called Eskilstuna out to the west of Stockholm, and we're going to have a look at yet another beer from Möllys Kvarterbryggeri. If memory serves me correctly, this is review number 6, I think, or so from these guys, but this particular beer is called the Tompi. It comes in at 8.5% ABV, and they're describing this one as a wheat stout, which is a style that you don't see all that many of actually. So very curious to see what this one has in store for us, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this one as well. So yeah, this is a brewery that I've always enjoyed reviewing beers from. You have seen me review one earlier in the month which was called the Erotica, a strawberry saison, or was it a raspberry saison? I forget. It was a fruited saison anyway, and that turned out to be a very nice beer, and that was the first sort of lighter beer that I had from this brewery, and it has made me interested to see what these guys are doing on the lighter end of the spectrum, because most of the beers that I'd had from these guys before had been, you know, big heavy beasts like barley wines, you know, tripels, quadrupels, and you know, big coffee imperial stouts as well. This one is going back to the stuff that I had been drinking kind of originally from Möllys Kvarterbryggeri as well. But this is one of their core beers that I wanted to try for a little while. I saw that it was available in Systembolaget, so I put it in the last order that I made. So very curious to see how this one turns out. Like I said, not often you find a wheat stout these days, so hopefully it's a good beer, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this one as well. So let's see how we get on then. As always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery websites, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Möllys Kvarterbryggeri before. No doubt you will see some more from these guys in the coming months. There's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is that takes your fancy. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Möllys Kvarterbryggeri then, on to my brewery notes. So Möllys Brewery, or Möllys Kvarterbryggeri, I'm not sure exactly what the official title of the company is, because in certain places you see it listed as different things, but anyway, Möllys are based in Eskilstuna out to the west of Stockholm, and they were founded back in 2015 by Daniel Herdigen, who is half German and half Swedish. So apparently his father's family in Germany can trace their brewing roots back to the 18th century, and they come from Erlangen, which is just outside of Nuremberg, which apparently has a lot of, Erlangen apparently has a lot of very nice pubs and very nice breweries and things like that. That region at the top of Bavaria, of course, is known as Franconia, or Franken, in Germany, and that's the place in the world that has the highest density of breweries per head of the population anywhere. So it's somewhere that I really recommend that you visit. Maybe you've heard of Bamberg. That's probably the most famous city, I guess, in terms of beer in that region. But basically when he was younger they spent a lot of time in Germany, but he was actually born when his family was living in Sweden. So he started off this company as he's, basically just home brewing, and then he soon expanded to a 500 litre brew kit, and he produced around 25,000 litres of beer in 2019, and about 50 different beer sorts in total actually, which is quite impressive. In early 2018 as well, one of the other interesting things about this brewery is that they produced a beer for Messiah Markelin's 50th birthday called Doom Warrior, and Messiah Markelin, for those of you who don't know, was the, I guess you could say, the iconic singer maybe for Candlemass, who are a very famous Swedish doom metal band, very much like Black Sabbath and things like that, but slightly different of course. So yeah, I do love a little bit of Candlemass. So they made the Doom Warrior beer for Messiah Markelin's 50th birthday. You've seen me review this one on the channel before, and they also produced this one, the Tompi, for a friend of Daniel's who used to attend metal festivals. And this was when his child got cancer, and this beer was produced, I think, and they donated a lot of money to both him and to charities and things with the type of cancer that the little guy had. But Daniel's brother Björn makes all the artwork for the labels for these beers, and it's very, very distinctive, as I gather you can see. And as of June 2020, when I'm producing this review for you, they've produced around 50 different types of beer, and they are getting pretty prolific, I have to say. I noticed that in the July assortment, they've got 2 or 3 different beers coming out, I think it was. So I need to see about ordering one of those and getting it reviewed for you. Maybe need to try my first IPA from these guys, I think. So I'll need to go through the list and just see what is available. But yeah, a really nice brewery, this one. I've had some very, very good experiences with these guys in the past, as I've said. I've reviewed you know, Imperial coffee stouts, barley, I'm sure it was a barley wine, an English style barley wine, a dark tripel. It was kind of more like a quadrupel, to be honest with you. And then yeah, we had the raspberry saison last time, which was really interesting. So yeah, some really nice beers from Möllys Kvarterbryggeri. We reviewed the Doom Warrior as well, which was really good. So yeah, a brewery that I definitely recommend that you check out if you get the chance. But they are very, very small. You would have to order their beers, unless you're probably in the Eskilstuna area. You would probably have to order their beers through the Systembolaget order system. So yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Möllys Kvarterbryggeri, or Möllys Brewery for the moment. If you want to learn more, of course, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and of course you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's get on and actually have a taste of this beer then. I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork of this one before we open it up there. So yeah, there you can see the nice artwork there by Daniel's brother Bjorn. I think that is pretty nicely done. The Möllys artwork, I have to say, is really lovely actually. I like the kind of hand-drawn style of it here. But it says, basically this, it says on the side here, it says it's a beer dedicated to our best friend Thomas Schempel. Keep fighting, basically. And it's saying here that it's this is one that it's done with, it's a stout that's done with a wheat yeast, basically. So yeah, this one, as I say, it should be really interesting. There you can see the little blurby thing on the side there. But yeah, nicely presented, this one. I do like the owl. Usually you see the Möllys owl on this thing actually, which is quite nice. But yeah, plain black bottle cap on top of this one. And it looks very, very nice. So yeah, I think, you know, one thing I would like to do actually, I'd love to get Daniel on the YouTube channel at some point to do one of these Meet the Brewery kind of segments. So I don't know if he would be interested in that. I know he watches his reviews, so Daniel, do please let me know if you'd like to do a Meet the Brewery segment. And you know, my dad and I have been talking about exploring, you know, the kind of west of Stockholm area a little bit. So I'm sure we could set that up actually. We could come to Eskilstuna and film a wee interview with you or something. That would be really fun. So yeah, let's see how we get on with this one then. So yeah, 8.5% wheat stout, this one. Let's get it out and we'll get on with the tasting. Very, very curious to see what this has in store for us. I do like the little stubby Belgians type bottles that these guys use. So yeah. This looks pretty damn thick, I have to say. For an 8.5% of the thickness on this beer is pretty damn impressive, I have to say. It's got the thickness that you'd expect maybe of an 11 or 12%er from a number of things actually. But yeah, should be really nice. But yeah, as you can see with this beer, it's poured a lovely kind of dark ebony rosewood colour, which is exactly what you would expect from a stout beer. Wheat of course does help it retain the head normally, but the head on this one is fading away. You can see there's about a quarter finger of a kind of dark tan foamy layer on this one. That's fading away just to be a very, very kind of thin foamy layer. Of course the head is kind of dissipating on this one quite fast. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass on this one, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of that head there, but you know, overall it looks pretty nice. And as I say, nothing particularly surprising about this beer when you consider what style it is, but it's the thickness of this one that I found surprising when you consider that it is only 8.5%. I mean, look at that. That must be the yeast. That must be the wheat yeast that they've used in this one that's doing that. But yeah, if I shine the light through this, there's not a lot of light coming through this one at all. It doesn't even really seem to have a Coca-Cola coloured edge to it, to be honest with you, which is quite surprising. But yeah, the colour of that beer. Yeah, the colour of that beer is pretty damn dark, and you do get a teeny little bit of a kind of Coca-Cola chestnutty coloured edge to it, but really not a lot of light passing through this one. So for a stout, that's kind of normal. Sometimes you get different levels of haze on the stout. Some of them you can see a little bit through actually, but yeah, the appearance of this one is not particularly surprising at all. It was just the thickness when we poured it that I thought was a little bit surprising. So yeah, let's have a little look at the aroma of this one then and see how we go on. I'm very, very curious, I have to say, about this beer. That smells really nice actually. I like, straight away with this one, you can smell a lot of very nice malty characteristics. It's got, you can smell a little bit of the roasty black malt in there, but it's also got a little bit of that kind of well-fired bread crust type vibe to it. It's got a little bit of a German rye bready character type thing coming out of it. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Carafa that's in here. There is almost a bit of a kind of Carafa vibe to this one, but definitely some nice kind of toasty brown sugars in there. It's not quite treacle and molasses. It's not quite kind of caramelised to be that. It does smell like a kind of almost burnt caramel coming out of this beer as well, actually. There's some nice kind of chocolatey aromas, I think. Yeah. Yeah, there's a nice... The chocolate that comes out of this one, I think, is very interesting as well. It's got a nice kind of... it really has a very nice kind of like medium cocoa, so about a 50, kind of 60% cocoa vibe about it, which I really like. Yeah, the aroma coming out of this one, I have to say, is very, very nice. So for me, quite a nice... the bready, the more I smell of this beer, the more the breadiness, the kind of brown bready notes that I was talking about, the more smoothness the more smoothness you get out of this, which is really interesting. So like I say, it's almost in layers, the aroma of this beer. Roasty, toasty black malts are a bit of that kind of carafa, roasty bread crusty sort of thing. Some nice almost brown rye breadish quality on top of that. Then you've got the kind of toasty, right, well-fired caramelly notes coming out of it. A little bit of a kind of chocolatey, as I say, kind of a toasty, well-fired, chocolatey kind of aroma coming out of this one on top of that. And as I say, you can get one or two little kind of woody undertones to it. And there's also a little touch of a slightly nutty character there further forward on the nose. I know there's not lactose and stuff in it, but it does almost smell just very slightly vanilla and lactosey like. It just gives you a little bit of that vibe further towards the front of the nose, I think. So I really like how, I do like how that side of the, I do like how that side of the beer comes out. The malty base in this one, I think, it's really very nice. It strikes me as being very bready, which I like. It's not that common to find that in a stout these days, but I do like how the malt base goes together on this one. So that side of it gets a thumbs up for me. The hoppy side of things then, let's see how that turns out. There's not too much to report on the hops, to be honest with you. You do get a little bit of earthiness out of it. You do get a little bit of a kind of, there is a wee touch of a floral character there, a bit of a lighter grassiness as well, but yeah, not too much to report on the green side of the hops for me. But you also have, yeah, you've also got a really nice kind of bit of a slightly fruity character to this one. The more I smell this, the more kind of smooth and bready this beer starts to smell. I do like the level of smoothness that you get out of this one. So yeah, on the fruity side of things, there's a little bit of a blackcurranty, blackberry-ish sort of thing coming out of this one. You have got a wee bit of a kind of figgy note to it. There's a wee bit of an almost tiny raisiny sharpness in the beginning as well. So yeah, I think when you smell this, it's got a little bit of a raisiny sharpness to it. Then it gets a bit more kind of juicy and figgy. And then further into the aroma, you're getting more kind of blackcurrants and blackberries and things like that. I'm not sure what hops they would have used in this. Of course, you've got a few options you could use, you know, for example, Bramling's Cross from England would be an option, Northern Brewer from Germany, you could use Williamette or Eureka, I guess, from America. You know, those are the ones that will give you some of these nice sort of red, fruity notes. But the aroma from this beer, I think, is really very nicely done actually. So I could sit and smell this one all day, but we need to have a taste of the beer now and see how we get on. So yeah, let's go for it with this one. Take a bit of time to enjoy that aroma because I think it is really quite nice in this one. It's not too often you come across a wheat stout, like I said, but let's have a look at this and see how we get on. So this one is the Tompi, a beer that Daniel brewed for his one of his very good friends when the son was sick, and hopefully he's all better now. I think he is. I think he did recover from his illness and get better actually. So that's always awesome. But yeah, this is the Tompi, an 8.5% wheat stout from Möllys Kvarterbryggeri or Möllys Brewery, however you want to call them. I still don't know what I should call this brewery after 6 reviews, but an 8.5% wheat stout from Möllys Brewery in Eskilstuna out to the west of Stockholm. Let's get stuck into this one. Slange, skål. That's really nice actually. I like this. Yeah. This is a really interesting beer. Like, the first impression I have of this is it feels very, very slick. You take this one in and it feels very, very slick, and that kind of remains actually, but you can really feel this one. It has that almost powdery dryness to it. In the aftertaste, you can really feel, you've seen how long it was since I took a sip of this now, you can just gradually feel the dryness of this beer pushing its way out. That's really interesting, the transition that this beer makes. It's got a lovely kind of smoothness and slickness to it, like I say, but then the dryness, I mean, it doesn't, the sort of dry and bitter, roasty qualities that push their way out of this one are, they're very quirky in that sense actually. I do like how these different aspects of the beer push their way out in this one, so thumbs up to Möllys for this. They've pulled off a nice, quite an interesting concoction here with this beer, so yeah, I like this. I need to try a few more wheat stouts. I do have one from Nerd Brewing that you'll see me review at some point quite soon actually. I'm very much looking forward to that, I have to say, but this is a nice, this is a solid beer, this one. At 8.5%, you know, you would drink this and probably think it's a good bit heavier than it is, so, you know, you have to say kudos to them for that as well, for having a beer that's, you know, kind of mid-range in terms of stouts, if you like, but it really packs the flavour, I think, of something a bit heavier, which is cool. But it surprises me. The thing that's a bit unusual about this one is how, in some ways, as I say, you've got a hell of a lot of flavour in it, and the mouth feels very light, which is unusual. You usually expect a big kind of full mouth feel. It's almost got more of a kind of Imperial Porter type mouthfeel to it, this one, because of the level of slickness that it has. But then again, you do have to consider the amount of flavour that it has would sort of equate to, like, you know, a 10 or 11%er, whereas the body is more like a kind of lighter stout, you know, a kind of 6%er or something like that. It is more like an Imperial Porter mouthfeel you get out of this one, which is quite interesting. So yeah, it's quite a light-bodied stout. It could maybe do with just being a little bit thicker. But it doesn't do any, you know, it's a very kind of minor nitpick, that one actually, but the level of flavour that this has is very, very nice actually. I'm not sure if maybe wheat stouts are thinner by, you know, by characteristic. I don't know actually. Maybe wheat stouts are generally thinner, so I apologise for that comment if that is the case. I've not reviewed too many of these to make a proper judgment, but yeah, I find this one, it's got a hell of a lot of flavour to it, but more like a kind of Imperial Porter type mouthfeel, I would argue. But yeah, I like this one. It gets a thumbs up from me. The main thing, of course, is the flavour, and the flavour on this one I think is very, very nice actually. So another solid beer from Möllys. These guys are doing some really interesting stuff. I'm pretty sure it was a subscriber who told me, I think it must have been after I reviewed one of the Dugas coffee stouts, either the Key or the Sidamo Dimtu, and you know, I was blown away by those beers, and they told me check out the coffee stout from Möllys Kvarterbryggeri, and then I think so after I just did that first review of theirs, then I just started exploring the other things that they do, and these guys are, you know, they're a very, very small brewery who I don't think have much ambition to grow and be bigger, if you like, but they do some cracking beers, they really do. I like this brewery. So yeah, let's try and break down the flavour of this one then. So I mean, straight away with this beer, you can feel that sort of wheaty smoothness. It blankets the middle of your palate, but you can feel that it gradually just dries out and dries out the further you go into the aftertaste with the beer. So yeah, I like the kind of wheaty smoothness the beer has, the kind of roasty, toasty qualities that are in there. And to me, that is, you know, that comes across really quite nicely actually. I like that side of this beer. So yeah, if you go to if we talk about the middle third of your tongue then, as I say, you've got that, the wheaty smoothness kind of underneath, the roasty toasty elements just pushing their way through. In the very centre of your palate, you've got a really nice, there is a wee teeny little bit of a kind of well-fired-ish brown sugar, but then quite quickly from that you get quite a bitter, roasty toasty, powdery, dark chocolate coming out of this beer, which I think is really, quite interesting. This is a very, it's got a lot of roasty bitterness to it, this one, but it's actually at the same time very, very smooth, I have to say. So I like how that side of the beer goes together. Yeah, this one is, it is really nice for me. it gets a bit of this, just get a big thumbs up as I say. But yeah, the middle of the palate, it's got it. I like that kind of almost battle that it has between the smoothness and the kind of toastiness actually. So like I say, in the middle of the palate you've got a really well fired brown sugary note. As you move further out from that, it's a little bit more toasty and well fired. You do get a nice kind of bitter chocolate to this one, a sort of 80-90%ish cocoa coming out of the beer. So I like how that goes together. If you go to the front corners of the palate, then move kind of diagonally backwards a little bit, you'll get a few woody undertones to the beer, but then as you move further forward on this one, I think you get a little bit more of a kind of vanilla. There is a wee touch of an almost slightly vanilla and nutty character coming out of this one, but the vanilla is, I think, very, very minimal. It is more nutty and kind of woody. You've got a few undertones just at the very front of that middle third of your tongue there, just a few little things. But yeah, it's got a nice kind of breadiness, I think, towards the back of that middle third of your palate. You do get a bit of a kind of brown breadiness sort of building, and I think that comes out more the further you go into the aftertaste as well. You can feel this kind of brown bready quality just building out of this one. In the back third of your tongue, it does get a little bit more roasty and toasty. You can feel the kind of roasty black malts pushing their way out a little bit more, and there's a wee bit more of that kind of really roasty, toasty brown sugar, that kind of slightly bitter, dark chocolatey quality there. So the back third of your tongue is pretty bitter, I think, compared to the rest of the beer. The middle part of the beer is pretty smooth, but you can feel some of the bitter notes just pushing their way out in this one. But I do like how this goes together. It actually tastes very similar to how you would describe the aroma, to be honest with you, but I do like that about it. As I say, very slick, quite light in its mouthfeel, but packing a lot of flavour, especially when you consider it's only 8.5%. So good job to Möllys Brewery here. They've done a great job with this. So yeah, in terms of the hoppy side of the beer then, back corner of the palate, you've got a nice kind of roasty, dark earthiness to this one. It's almost like an English earthiness. I do wonder what hops they would have used in this. Maybe a mix of English and American, come to think of it. But it does have a bit of that darker earthiness that you might get from like Bramling's Cross or something like that. You do get a bit of that darker, almost English earthiness out of this one. But as you come further forward along the side of the palate, the earthiness gradually kind of fades away a little bit. You get some nice floral aromaticity on the front corners of the palate, then round the very front curve of the tongue, it's just a little bit lighter and more grassy in my mind. Then behind the front curve of the palate, that front third of the tongue, that's where you get the really nice fruity esters pushing their way out of the beer. So yeah, I do like this. I do like that fruity part of the beer as well. So when you first take this in, it has got a wee bit of a kind of raisiny sharpness actually. Yeah, so when you take the beer in, you've got a nice little bit of a raisiny sharpness to it, but then it really kind of smooths out quite nicely. You can feel some of the, between that middle third of your tongue and the front third of your tongue, there is a bit of a roasty, it's almost like a well-fired kind of brownie. It's like the well kind of fired burnt edge of a brownie. You can feel that sort of thing at the kind of borderline between these, between the beer actually, which is quite nice. But yeah, you get that nice kind of roasty, toasty, well-fired brownie type quality out of this one, which is good. And then in front of that, that's when you get the fruity notes. Like I say, when you take it in, it's got a little bit of a slightly raisiny sharpness with it. Then it just juices out quite nicely, and you start to get more of that kind of softer, figgy type note to the beer. Maybe a little bit plummy actually, come to think of it. It's maybe got a bit of a kind of darker, plummy quality to it. But then as you move further forward towards the tip of the tongue, it's got a little bit of a black curranty, blackberry-ish type quality to it as well, and that's what really lingers into the aftertaste. You've got some of the kind of roasty smoothness just pushing its way out in the middle of the palate too. So I mean, the quality of this beer I think is very, very nice actually. I really like how this one goes together in terms of its flavour, but yeah, the fruitiness in this I think just adds another nice dimension to it as well. In terms of the mouthfeel, I would say this is a mid-bodied beer. That's maybe the kind of, it's maybe right in the middle, to be quite honest with you. I don't know if it's even at the top end of mid-bodied. Like I say, this one, it packs a hell of a lot of flavour, but it does feel a bit more like an Imperial Porter or something like that. It's very light for the amount of flavour it has, but then again, as I say, you do have to consider it is only 8.5%. It's not a big 11, 12% beast. So yeah, in terms of the overall mouthfeel, I'd say that it's quite a slick one. It's almost got a little bit of a kind of creaminess to it. The carbonation is fairly smooth. And the mouthfeel, I think generally speaking, it's quite creamy and mid-bodied, to be honest with you. The level of bitterness on this one, this has got to be about 60-ish IBUs, both from the malts and from the hops, I think. Yeah, I think there's got to be about a kind of 60, maybe even 70 IBU level at this one, both hops and malts. But I like how that, I do like how that goes together. It's nice in that sense. I like the level of bitterness the beer has. The malty side of things, it's got a good bit of smoothness to it. Like I say, the malty side of the beer starts off smooth. It's got a little bit of sweetness to it, but then it really dries out the further you go into the aftertaste, and you get a few kind of nice undertones to the beer as well. Actually, I really like how that all goes together. You've got a nice you really do have a nice level of yeah, you really do have a very nice level of smoothness to this one. Actually, I really like how that comes out. But yeah, a little bit, as I say, smoothness to the malt base, a little bit of a roasty, toasty quality, and a little bit of sweetness in there. And then you've got some nice kind of juicy, fruity characters coming out of the beer as well. So I really like how this goes together. So yeah, the flavour of this one I think is pretty damn solid. The fruitiness has a nice little bit of an oily character to it, a little bit juicy, like I said. But overall, just a really nice, solid stout. This one, it's got the kind of flavour qualities you'd expect of a big beast, but it does have a little bit of the slicker mouthfeel you might expect of, say, an Imperial Porter or something. But once again, a thumbs up to Möllys Kvarterbryggeri, or Möllys Brewery, for this one. This one was the Tompi, an 8.5% wheat stout, and it turned out to be a very, very nice beer. So yeah, check this one out if you get the chance. This is pretty damn solid, I have to say. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Möllys Brewery as well. Thank you again for watching my reviews, and I will catch you guys very soon. The Tompi, an 8.5% wheat stout from Möllys Kvarterbryggeri in Eskilstuna, out to the west of Stockholm here in Sweden. Slange, skål. Make sure you check out this brewery, check out my social media, let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know your favourite beers from Möllys Kvarterbryggeri, and we will return to these guys very soon. Slange, skål, cheers.